Okay, so these, like I said, these will be our official notes 3.3 on transformations. We're going to be writing down like the generic rules. But for those of you that might be watching this from home because you missed class, you may want to go back and do the exploration first. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to call our function f of x. Okay? So that's our parent function. Let's see. F of x is our parent function. Okay? So in our exploration, that was the absolute value of x, and then the second part was the x squared. Okay? Those are our parent functions. All right? And I want you to tell me what happened when we kept our parent function the same, and then we added a number, and I'm just going to call it k. K is just a number that I'm saying, let's add that number. Okay? What happened when we kept our function the same, and then we just added a number at the end? Just because I know that sounds bothering. What happened? What kind of movement did it make? All right, that's the one that went up, okay? And so the shift for that was just up, and then k is just the number that it goes up by. So if there was a plus 2, it went up by 2. If there was a plus 3, it went up by 3. Okay? All right? So if my function stayed the same, and then I minused a number, so after the absolute value part or after the square part, and I minused the number, what happened to it? It went down, whatever that number was, right? So we're just going to say down k. All right, k is just going to be our generic number that we're going to talk about. All right, and for both of these, right, the adding and subtracting was outside of the grouping symbol. All right, in fact, the x squared ones didn't even have a grouping symbol for these. All right, so what I mean by grouping symbol is parentheses or absolute values or anything like that. Okay? Now, for the left and right shifts, I'm going to write my function a little bit different. I'm going to write f of, and then x plus k inside that parenthesis, and x minus k inside that parenthesis. All right, so what I mean by that is that you add or subtract inside the grouping symbol. All right, so look at the ones that we did that had the plus or the minus inside the absolute value or inside the parentheses. What did we say the plus was? No, the ones that were inside the grouping symbol. So on our explorations, numbers 3 and 4. Okay, the plus was actually left that many. So yeah, this one's backwards. And the minus was right that many. Okay. Now, for the next two, we're just going to write that f of x is multiplied by some number, we'll call it a. All right, but sometimes it made it skinnier and sometimes it made it wider. That's why I'm writing it as two separate pieces. Okay? All right, so if I have my function times a number, all right, when the absolute value of that number is greater than 1, okay? Now, the reason I put absolute values around it is because even if that number was negative, it would still make it wider or skinnier, okay? The negative is what flips it over. All right, what did all of the ones that had a number in front that was bigger than 1 do? Did they get wider or skinnier? Look back at your exploration. The ones that had a number multiplied in front that was bigger than 1, it got skinnier. We call that a vertical stretch. A vertical stretch. Okay? But when that number in front was a fraction, and that fraction is between 0 and 1, right? That's how you talk about a number that's a fraction, smaller than 1. Okay, it has to be between 0 and 1. All right, what happened to the graph? It got skinnier or wider? Wider. We call that a vertical shrink. It basically takes the graph and pushes it down. Okay, that's why it's a shrink. Okay? All right, and then what was the last thing that we looked at? What was the last piece of the exploration? It had a negative in front. All right, so when there's a negative in front of the function, okay, negative in front, we just said that flipped over. Well, it flips over something specific, okay? So let's go back to the v, all right? What axis is this? That's the x-axis. So when we talk about putting a negative in front, did it flip down here? Okay, so it flipped over the x-axis. Well, in math words, all right, that's reflect over the x-axis. Okay, that's a reflect over the x-axis. Okay, so now what I'm going to have you do is, I'll have you pull this up in Canvas in just a second, show you what it looks like. I think it's opening. Come on. Or not. It's just taking long. I don't know. Maybe. Here we go. Okay, so I've created a Google Slide type activity for you. So when you open it, it's going to create everybody their own copy. Okay? And the first slide has the directions. Whoa. Oh, I opened it multiple times. So the first slide just says below each function on the next 2 slides, there is a text box. You're going to double click below each function so that you can type in that text box. All right? And then in the text box, you're going to briefly describe the transformation when you compare it to the parent function. Okay? But you're not going to type them in Desmos. You're going to use the rules that we just talked about. This should go very quickly. Okay? So if I tap one, why isn't it letting me tap in there? There we go. If you double tap, you should see a text box. And you're going to just type in, all right, well, if there's a -5 inside the grouping symbol, what did we say? Right? How many? 5. So that is literally what you're going to type in that box. Write 5 and you're done. All right? But some of them have more than one thing happening. So you might have, so like if you look at number 4 here, you're going to have to tell me something about the 3 and the -2. You're going to have to, in number 5, you're going to have to tell me something about the 1/5 and the +6. In number 6, you're going to have to tell me something about the negative, the +7, and the -2. Okay? And then on the second slide, I just changed the parent function, and you have a couple more to practice. Okay? So I'm going to give you about 15 minutes to work on that. If you don't finish in that 15 minutes, it is homework. Okay? All right. But for you to get it, you're going to go to, let me see if I've even, did I publish it? Is it in your can? Okay. So it should now be the last thing that's published, homework 3.3. If you click on it, it should make you a copy of the slide. You see what it looks like on your end. Yes, you have to link it to your Google account. And then when you are done, I thought, okay, so when you're done, do not press the share button. Have you guys done one of these before in one of your other classes? You don't actually press the share button. You go back to the Canvas and you click on where it says something and submit. Yeah, open to attach and submit when you're done, right? And then that's where you submit it from. So do not share it with you. I should not be getting emails. All right? Some of these should go very quick. Other ones you've got to think there might be multiple things happening.